as you can see, CTV's political commentator Scott Reid joining us, as he always does during the week, to break down the political stories. And Scott, we're going to talk municipal because we are in a heat wave, and there's kind of a bit of a snafu with City of Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow now apologizing, saying, hey, look, we shouldn't have closed some of these swimming pools.
Yeah, no question, obviously. And this dominated talk yesterday. I think it's still going to dominate a lot of talk today because, as you say, it's hot, man. Like, it is so hot out there. I've started calling today Pedro Pascal. So, you know, what I think is interesting about Olivia Chow when these situations come up, and we'll see, because there's a municipal election coming up in a year. Yep. You know, you get a situation like this. For some reason, these lifeguards leave the pools. For some reason, they shut down the pools for a period of time. And, you know, yes, the mayor comes out and says that's unacceptable, shouldn't have happened. But that happens after she says, initially, that it was the fault of the province. No one really knows the origin of this is. Right. And, you know, a lot of her apologies, they come off as, I'm sorry if you're sorry. No sense of, listen, this is on me, this is on my watch, we're going to take care of this. What occurred here? Why did it occur? How can we be certain it won't occur again? And, you know, I think back about that vacant house tax and how, you know, again, that wasn't her fault, that was somebody else's fault. Oh, somebody else needs to get fired. And, you know, part of being the leader of the city is you have to take accountability when things go screwy. Things went screwy. So it isn't always enough to say, I'm sorry. You also have to say, what are you doing to fix it?
So she puts a W in front of the buck stops here. It's the buck stops where, just not here.
100%.
Yeah,
and,
right,
you know, again, I'm sorry if you're sorry, but I'm not sorry that I did something wrong.
Gotcha.
I wasn't in that lifeguard. I wasn't lifeguarding. I wasn't.
It was the handwritten note for me. Anyway, we're going to move on here because we're going to talk about the Canada-EU summit. It's interesting, you know, the Prime Minister spending several days in there talking defense spending, you know, talking about, you know, cozying up to Europe a little more, et cetera. What do you make of what's happening right now?
Well, I think two things that are going to be really interesting to watch again today. So yesterday's meeting with the heads of the EU strikes a new partnership on defense and security arrangements. I mean, EU members described it as one of the most sweeping and ambitious pacts that have ever been struck. What you see is, I think the Prime Minister, and then today obviously is going to be at NATO, where we're going to talk about a further increase of defense spending. And this is all a constant double track. And what I mean by that is, on the one hand, we're pursuing stronger, deeper ties with Europe, because of whether as a trading partner or in terms of defense and security, we need to deepen those relationships, particularly if our relations with the United States are going to be more strained, and if the U.S. isn't going to be the kind of partner we've been able to reliably count upon. But at the same time, he's taking actions that should try to help give us leverage in talks with the United States. Because one of the #1 demands that Donald Trump has, increase your defense spending. Okay, we're doing that now. We'll be part of Rearm Europe. So you're watching these things happen. I do have one core political question, and that is, we're all caught up in the zeal of this. You know, Mark Carney looks like he can't set a wrong foot. All of this is going very well. I mean, he obviously wears the sort of international statesman garb so comfortably. You saw that yesterday. But we start talking like we will today about increasing defense spending as a share of GDP up to 5%. At some point, we're talking about tens and tens. We're not talking about $20 billion a year. We're talking about an annual budget impact of $80, $90 billion a year. And that's money that can't go to tax cuts. That's money that can't go to social infrastructure. That's money that can't go to health care. And at some point, it's going to be interesting to see if Canadians say, the political moment demands that we do this, but man, this is a lot of money for defense, and it's going to be interesting to see how long the public consensus persists. Now, they're also going to be talking, obviously, about Iran and Israel. And we heard from President Trump on his way to the NATO summit today. He had this dignified, sophisticated analysis of the situation there.
Let's hear that again. Okay, so we don't have the clip there, but effectively Donald Trump did say, you know, both Iran and Israel, like, what the F are they thinking, you know, dropping more bombs after the... Oh, here we go.
We've got the clip.
There we go.
You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
How did you just characterize that again, Scott?
That's a very dignified response. I mean, you remember the time JFK said, "Ask not what you can do for your country, but what the F your country can do for you." But I, and this is, I mean, you know, this isn't going to bug you because this is the way you talk all the time, Nick. But I just, you know what? It's not going to be a big deal. But one of the things that I think is interesting is it shows the tension. Right? This Iran Israeli conflict, I mean, it does have the threat to mushroom. Obviously, their counterstrike from Iran was pretty limited, looked to be in many ways just a face-saving effort. Yeah. But Donald Trump is heading off to NATO. He's demanding that partners pay more for defense. At the same time, then he says, we have no intention in the United States of hitting this 5% target that I'm demanding of other members. And the fact that he wanted the ceasefire, declared there was a ceasefire, and then missiles yet through, that's why he loses his temper. Yeah, that's why he's losing his cool, because he wants them to do what he wants them to do.
Yeah, okay. We're going to continue to watch.
Bruised,
yeah, exactly. He's feeling personally attacked as the attacks continue. Yeah. Scott, always appreciate this.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Next week.
All right, stay cool.
Next Tuesday, so we'll see you soon, I hope.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to be sitting in a lake.
I think we all will.
With one of those big beer can hats on.
Exactly.
So.
Okay. Enjoy that, Scott.
Have a great week, guys.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.